Hey folks, thanks for tuning in today. More black and gray stuff, black and gray illustrative, because that's my style, that's what I like to do. And today's gonna be a little bit different. I'm not gonna be using online photo references. I'm gonna go back to using two different AI references. We'll see which one we like better, because ChatGPT a little while ago just released their image creation section of their AI generation stuff. And so we're gonna be using ChatGPT to create an AI snarling tiger face. And then we're also going to be using MidJourney to create the same image. We're going to see which one we like better. I'm going to show you the prompts I'm using, how I interact with those devices or apps. And yeah, we're going to go from there. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'm Clay, the Techie Tattooer. And this is how to draw a illustrative black and gray tiger face using two different AI apps. Let's get to the iPad. All right, folks, so here we are in ChatGPT. We're just going to go ahead and start here because why not? And I'm just going to talk into it because that's what we're doing. Please create an image for me of a black and gray illustrative image in a tattoo style that is of a tiger's face looking at the viewer and snarling. Please make the image not too detailed and hopefully tattooable directly as is so that I can trace over it for one of my YouTube tutorial videos about how to use Procreate as a tattoo artist or aspiring tattoo artist. Let's see what that says. That's 40 seconds of text, so that's certainly long enough, isn't it? It only came out like that. Man, I talk slow. All right, so as you can see, it's given me this processing image thing, so we're just gonna go ahead and copy this text down and head back on over to MidJourney while this guy cooks. All right, so here I am over on my MidJourney tattoos thing, /imagine. Boop, there we are. I'm gonna just paste this entire text in there, but because it doesn't understand a bunch of this stuff for context, there we go. We're just gonna do that. Please create an image for me of a black and gray illustrative design in a tattoo style that is of a tiger's face looking at the viewer and snarling. Please make the image not too detailed. Boom. Let's see what happens. All right, and this is what we have from MidJourney's. Yeah, those aren't the best. They're okay. I actually do like this splattery tiger right over here. I do think he's kind of cool. I don't like the black background on this tiger. That would make him hard to use as a reference if you wanted to directly do him. And plus, I don't like the little fur stuff there. I really like the nose on this. I feel like that's a lot more realistic looking, even though I don't like the ears. But we might go for this one. Let's see what ChatGPT's up to. Oh, that's super funny. It created me an American traditional style tattoo. But guys, oh, that's so good. That's like a perfectly tattooable American traditional tiger. Oh my gosh. Thank you. But that style is actually classic American traditional. I am looking for black and gray illustrative tattoo style. If you don't understand what that means, please go ahead and simply create a black and gray image that is not realistic, but is like a pen and ink drawing of a snarling tiger's face. And so that's the cool thing about ChatGPT is ChatGPT can iterate on what you're doing, and it's much more conversational, and it has a much better job of understanding the context of what you're telling it and what you're trying to get it to do, and your actual desires as an artist, and not necessarily, whereas like MidJourney is you tell it to do this, you tell it what aspect ratio to put it on, you tell it much more specific things in the language of art. Like you can use actual, like, take this photo with a Canon blah 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 35 millimeter, at these settings and with this kind of filter and all that other stuff. And MidJourney will really understand those commands well, but you need to speak the language of whatever medium you're asking it to create in order to do that. Whereas ChatGPT is a much more abstract conversational tool. Yeah, so that's the ups and downs, the pros and cons list of both of those tool sets. They are both super valid and super useful. I love them both, but they do each come with their own kind of thing like that. So I'm actually just going to go ahead, redo this. I have remix on, so when I push the do it again button, it's going to bring this up and I can edit the prompt in any way I would like, but I'm not going to worry about doing that. I'm actually just going to push submit, and we're going to just redo that 4 up with the exact same thing, and I will get 4 new different images. Something better not be wrong. My internet could be going bad here. All right, cool. So there we are, right? And so you can kind of see now how it's given us a much more pen and ink style drawing. It is actually a lot more realistic than I was expecting. That's actually really cool. I do like that. That's very much like what you would expect someone to do who is a badass with a big pen. Um, so we're going to go for this image. I mean, look at that. You can see all the little individual pen strokes in there. That's really cool. Can I just save? Oh, can I just save? Hey, save. Allow. As you can see, I don't save images from ChatGPT. This is a total experiment for me. So, all right. And so here we are with our new 4 up. The only one I actually really like, again, is this one in the lower left, image number 3 again. This is kind of cool, but I don't like the nose structure on it. I don't like these. This one actually has a jaguar shaped face, and so I wouldn't want to go for that. That would be confusing. Tiger faces are a little bit wider and more triangular. That's definitely a jaguar head shape, so I'm not going to go with that one. But in the for brevity's sake, we'll just go ahead and call this image good here. There we are. Save to photos. So here we are, and you can see our 3 images. 2 of them are from MidJourney, 1 is from ChatGPT, and hopefully you can kind of already tell. Actually, let me bring in the other image. And you can kind of already tell that the MidJourney images are much more dynamic, artsy fartsy. They're more extreme. They're a little bit cooler, quote unquote. While this traditional style tattoo tiger is literally absolutely perfect. I honestly am totally blown away with how good it is. I'm very, very tempted to have it spit out a bunch of American traditional tattoos and see what people think of them. Do a poll online or something. This tiger face, it's just, I guess we could call it stiff, where it's absolutely amazing, for like that kid in high school where you're like, wow, I can't believe you can draw that good. You should be a professional artist. That's absolutely amazing. But at the same time, it doesn't have those super deeply sunk blacks. I mean, it does a little bit here and here, but the blacks in this are just so much. The range of tone is just so much deeper and stronger in these MidJourney images than it is in especially this one ChatGPT image. Not so much this one, because the blacks are really nice and black in this. Like, I'm super impressed with that American traditional tiger face. I can't get over it. But yeah, so I think we're going to go with this one because I can turn symmetry on and we can go and play around with that. And Yeah, but those are the two differences between ChatGPT. ChatGPT has its benefits because it's much more conversational. It can iterate and you can just have a conversation with it, tell it what you did and didn't like about the image, what you would like it to change. And it is super, super good at taking your instructions that way in a conversational manner, whereas Midjourney is kind of more technical and you have to understand the art style that you're talking about more. And yeah, so million ways to skin a tiger these days, folks. This is just what I went with. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to a new layer here. Yep, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete these so they're not in my way. And we're going to put symmetry on. So that's going to go to Canvas, Drawing Guide, Editor Drawing Guide, turn Drawing Assist on so that symmetry actually works, and then click the symmetry tool. And because I'm already like this, it's going to do this, but you know, yeah, you can mess around with the options. There's vertical, horizontal, quadrant, radial, blah, 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 blah. It's a fun tool. I recommend playing with it a bit and seeing what's up. So I'm not really going to worry. Normally I would use this little dot to line it up, but I'm going to actually use his nose and lip slit there, right? His little kitty lip slit. Notice how it's a little bit off to the side ever so slightly. And so there we are. I like that for my symmetry. I'm going to go ahead and turn this way down to like 12 because it's such a dark image. And yep, I'm on my technical pen. I think I have the stabilization turned way up on this guy right now. I do. But we're going to go ahead and leave it there. I might not like that for some of the tiger stripes, but we'll see what I end up thinking. Okay. Yep, symmetry's on. My eraser is on technical pen as well. And we're just going to start making choices, folks. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and start with the nose. I'm going to go ahead and fatten it just, ooh, that's a, is that a little bit fat? No, that's perfect. I am not going to have it be as furry, right? We're going to go for more of like a neo-traditional style. And then I'm going to use some classic neo-traditional yeps. Then we'll go mean eyebrows. Tiny eyes. Hold this down to make them perfect circles. There we are. Give it the classic eye swoopy. No, that's making them too wall-eyed. So I'm going to bring these eyes in closer. I don't know if you noticed that I did that really quick. Sorry. Didn't like how far apart his eyes were on that. Now saying that's too close. Let's try this again. Maybe I'll bring this further up. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. And then we're going to give him some swoopy eyebrows. Yeah. Nope, we're just going to end there. We're going to give him a cool kind of mean butt chin at the top of his head. Smaller. Nope. There we go. Yep. Get his ears in there. Gonna make them a little bit flatter. All right, so they don't stick out quite so high. It makes them look like a meaner kitty cat when we do that.
We're in this to the core. With every move we make, we'll leave them craving more. Unleashing the power, like a force that cannot be contained. We'll dance like there's no tomorrow, and nothing can restrain. Ignite the tiger spirit in your soul. Let the music take control. Feel the energy, let it guide you through. We'll dance together, and it'll be just me and you. We'll dance like there's no tomorrow, and nothing can restrain. Ignite the tiger spirit in your soul. Let the music take control. Feel the energy.
And we're gonna give him the same kind of, if you watch the American traditional wolf tattoo, this guy's gonna get that same kind of lip treatment here. Yep. And then for the illustrative style tattoos that I like to do, I don't bring the whiskers all the way into the face. I put these dots here, like this. And then I start the whiskers from the edge of the face like this. And I do kind of like how he's got that little double set of big teeth there. So we're going to bring his teeth down like this. Again, very similar to how we did the neo-traditional wolf or the traditional wolf style tattoo. And I do like how these are kind of coming at the viewer. I think that's cool looking. And that means I kind of like that for this. Yep. Then we're going to give him the classic neo-traditional tongue treatment. Oh, that tongue's not quite wide enough at the beginning. So we want to go this. And then like this. There we go. Much better. We'll give him a little texture in there. Little texture in there. Okay. Yep, got that good old ear fuzz going on. New layer, and then we're going to map out the tiger stripes. Whoops. Drawing assist. Now we're using symmetry. Go. I think that middle one's a little tall, or actually a little high up, excuse me, not tall. Split that difference so they're nice and even. Yep, there we go. But then what that means is these have got to poke out more. There we are. Because we don't want those kind of like framing his head and making his forehead look all weird, because these are kind of topographical maps, even though they're not, right? They're also really random shapes, but we want it to kind of conform and create the illusion of the topography of his head. Yep, there we are. Like I said, just the illusion of the topography of his head, while it's still at the same time still making super badass shapes that don't really make sense, but look cool. Yeah. And then tigers have these funny little cheek things. Yep. A little bit further out because I don't want it to conflict.
Let it guide you through. We'll dance together, and it'll be just me and you. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. We're in this to the core. With every move we make, we'll leave them craving more. Unleashing the power like a force.
Let's go ahead and play with that and see if that's what we want for our outline. Just duplicating it for no good reason. I just have a tendency to do that stuff. Sometimes we may or may not make some changes to this I do or do not like. We'll find out. This is going to be the reference layer. There you go. This is not going to be this, but honestly, reference layers aren't going to matter so darn much in something like this because, well, yeah, you'll see. All right, so like the nose, I'll put symmetry on. Why not? Drawing assist is symmetry. Go into our airbrush. The airbrush settings are just right. So spacing is set to that whatever that default is. You know, this is all just whatever the the default settings are for that. The right layer, good. Yep. Like the problem, right, we're going to see here is like, oh, what the heck? And then we're going to have to just erase out this stuff. Not that I have a problem with that, right? But, you know, it's going to be kind of really hit and miss. You know, for instance, doing the eyes. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit harder now that we're getting into these interesting areas. Actually, I'll do the stripes in first because that's going to be easiest. We'll stay on this layer because I can still freehand grab these stripes. Okay. Again, the reason I'm doing this is because we kind of want it to map some sort of fake topography we're creating on the head. So those light sources or shading areas are done to kind of make it look like it's got those two ridges coming around his skull like that. Okay, so now I am going to bust onto this new layer because this layer I am actually going to have to symmetryify in order to get it to make sense for the most part. Yeah, see, I don't like that already.
And nothing can restrain. Ignite the tiger spirit in your soul. Let the music take control. Feel the energy, let it guide you through. We'll dance together, and it'll be just me and you. We'll dance like there's no tomorrow, and nothing can restrain. Ignite the tiger spirit in your soul. Let the music take control. Feel the energy, let it guide you through. We'll dance together.
test, duplicate it, and then we flip it. Then we slide it in where it belongs, using the eye to make sure we got everything nice and lined up. Honestly, I feel like actually, do I even care? Can I just... There we go. And that's not gonna work, right? Nope, because that's opened everything. Boo. Yep. All right, folks. I believe that is our neo-traditional tiger, or black and gray illustrative tiger face. All right, I could see changing up this outline ever so slightly to on his cheeky bits. It's a little bit too kind of, we might bring it in ever so slightly, but you get what I was doing there. Making them flow downwards instead of out like that is really helping the design. So, yep, that's our black and gray illustrative tiger face. Let me know what you guys think on how to tattoo. This is a super tattooable design, other than the fact that I left these little boogers in here. Yoink, yoink, get that out of there. Get that out of there. You don't need that. That's extra, right? So that's something that would look really cool on a client, right? It's almost more neo-traditional, right? Because I have a tendency to float towards that. It's really, really illustrative in the design style. Yeah, comment below. Let me know what you think. I'd be super curious to see if you guys are like, that was lazy. What you need to do is go through and add some ear shine in it like that, and do a few other things to really not have symmetry on. Drawing assist. Now I have symmetry on. Whoa now. Right, but there's all kinds of finishing details you can do and just decide how you want to make this thing pop here and there and the other. And there's a million different ways to make this cat super badass. It's all up to you and how you like to finish your pieces off, right? Right, there are no wrong answers. I mean, there's a few wrong answers, but not really. For the most part, just get your artistic style down. Just understand what it is that you like to do, and you're going to start hitting home runs eventually. So, yeah, that's our tattoo design. Thank you so much for sticking around, folks. And I will catch you guys next time. Like, comment, subscribe, and share if this was interesting for you. See you guys later.